We about ready? All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order, please. So we can keep busy. If everyone will silence your phones. I'd like to call the meeting of the Metroplan Orlando MAC meeting to order. My name is John Dallas and I'll be chairing the meeting today. We also have a team of folks working to ensure this meeting runs smoothly for us in the room and those listening online. As we continue to meet in person, all committee members are required to be physically present here in the Metroplan Orlando boardroom for purposes of achieving a quorum. Staff will continue to stream our meetings online for public access. Now at this time, we'll have a moment of silence prayer, and then I'll ask Mayor Sladek to lead us in the pledge. Everybody stand. Amen. Mayor Sladek.
Peace to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. This morning, we ask that everyone will silence your phones, please. I do ask that all committee members wait to be recognized to speak and to activate your microphones before speaking and turning them back off when you are complete. As a reminder, the microphone is turned on and off by pressing the blue button, the one with the little talking face icon located on the screen in front of you. There are 2 public comment points in the meeting. Members of the public participating virtually who want to speak will use the raise hands feature on the Zoom screen. If attending by phone, you can hit *9 to request to be recognized. We also accepted comments by email and phone messages before the meeting. The guidelines for the public comment are posted at metroplanorlando.org/virtual meetings. We want this in all future meetings to be accessible to all. Participants may join by computer, tablet, or phone. If you need accommodations to participate in the future, please contact Metroplan Orlando. And with that, Ms. Larson, you have the floor.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. For today's agenda, the Community Advisory Committee, the Technical Advisory Committee, and the TSMO Advisory Committee all received a presentation on the Florida Sunshine Law because you all have heard similar presentations at League of Cities. We will not be providing you with that today. Save your time. But please do note that Sunshine still does apply to the MAC. And if you have any questions about that, you can contact Ms. Lisa Smith, Ms. Rachel Frederick, or Ms. Virginia Whittington. There are no changes to our printed agenda this morning. However, on the digital agenda, you can find on the Titan. For the full agenda, there was a little bit of a flub under tab 3, so we have it printed out for you in front of you. So that's the correct item. And we'll hear more on that later from Ms. Taylor Laurent. With that, we're going to turn it over to our safety moment. Mr. Mike Wilson, who usually provides us with the safety moment, is out. So instead, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Alex Trauger.
Yeah, Mike's presenting at a non-motorized data collection meeting this morning, i.e. bike ped count. So I'll be filling in for him. He left me with a relatively easy one, not a data forward presentation this month, really just calling attention to last month's FDOT safety focus, which is move over month. And as it relates to that, there were changes to Florida's move over law. As you can see on this slide, it had always applied to those vehicles in blue: emergency vehicles, sanitation vehicles, utility, towing, and bridge and maintenance, roadway maintenance. But now the new law has been strengthened, and it also requires to move over for disabled vehicles displaying those flashing warning lights or with flares, or really if you ever see people present outside of their vehicle on the roadside, please do move over. This does apply to all roads, not just I-4, so do keep that in mind as you're traveling on local roads as well. It does not apply directly to pedestrians and cyclists, as you can see on the slide, but I think we can always be a good neighbor and do our best to move over for those very vulnerable users as well. The takeaway for today, again, the move over law does really apply to all vehicles along and pedestrians on the roadside. Move over a lane. Obviously, that's the law. If you can't do that in time safely, they ask that you reduce your speed to 20 miles an hour below the posted. Not 20 miles an hour, but reducing the speed to 20 miles an hour below the posted speed there. And I think what's important here is the earlier you can do that, and this is something Mike's been emphasizing, the earlier you can move over or reduce that speed, but especially move over, it allows those folks behind you to move over safely as well. So with that, pretty straightforward safety moment. If you have any questions, I doubt you do, but we're here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trauger. Now it's the roll call. So Ms. Smith, if you will lead us in that, that'd be great.
Good morning. I'll ask all committee members to keep microphones muted until call. Please stay here or present. Anderson,
Here.
David, Dowless,
Here.
Firstner,
Here.
Foraker, Presley for Gardner,
Here.
Guthrie, Henson,
Here.
McCann,
Here.
Ramos,
Present.
Sackett,
Here.
Sladig,
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the roll call, and I would like to point out that Councilman David requested that his absence be excused today.
I believe you also said Mayor Gardner had contacted you as well. Do we have a motion to excuse both Councilman David and Mayor Gardner?
So moved.
Mayor Henson and Mayor Sladek second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none,
Aye.
please show those adopted. Okay, public comments. We will hear public comments on action items. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record, and please hold public comments to 2 minutes or less. If any members of the public wish to comment or are joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll send you a prompt to unmute your mic. Do we have any joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
Mr. Chairman, we have no hands raised online.
Great. All right. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to make a comment?
I have not received any requests.
Okay. And are there any written comments that were submitted before?
We've not received any.
Okay, excellent. Let's move next. We'll now do agency reports. And first up, we have from FDOT, Ms. Beckman. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, Chair and committee members. I'm going to go over a very brief update on some road closures and some upcoming events for you. I'm going to go a little out of order. I usually start with Orange. I'm going to start with Seminole today. We have intermittent nightly ramp closures for some bridge work through tomorrow on eastbound I-4 to 46A, northbound 417 to I-4 and International Parkway, southbound 417 I-4 from International Parkway, and eastbound I-4 to southbound 417 and 46. In Osceola, we also have some intermittent nighttime lane closures on US 1792 or John Young Parkway from Portage Street to Ham Brown Road that are going to continue through tomorrow. And then in Orange County, through tomorrow, we have intermittent inside lane closures along north and southbound State Route 436 from north of Old Cheney Highway to north of University Park Drive. As well, we have northbound single lane closure along South Orange Avenue from Muriel Street to Pennsylvania Street. And then we do have some upcomings that I did want to bring up to you guys in Orange County. We have nighttime closures from February 20th to the 22nd, intermittent ramp closures eastbound I-4 from John Young. February 18th and 19th, there's intermittent ramp closures eastbound 408 to Orange Avenue. January 28th through continuing through February 22nd, we're going to have intermittent lane closures westbound Sand Lake Road under the I-4 overpass for bridge demolition. And also from the 12th of February to the March 12th, so the 12th to the 12th, we have intermittent nightly lane closures westbound I-4 right lane from Darrell Carter to the 535. That's all for lane closures, just a few upcoming events. On Friday, February 16th at the district office in DeLand, we are going to be giving some free training for individuals to become certified bicycle helmet fitters. So if you have community members who are interested in that, please let them know so that they could become certified fitters. Also, I'm sure you're aware Thursday, February 22nd is Take Over the Trails Day. And then Saturday, February 24th, we are going to have an FDOT Wekiva Parkway Grand Opening Community Festival. There's more information to come, but we're gonna have some guided trail tours, bike rides, booths, music and whatnot. Again, that's Saturday, February 24th. And that's all today.
Do we have any questions?
Yes.
Take Over the Trails Day, explain a little bit more about that.
Okay, so Take Over the Trails Day is along with the and I just completely blanked out. It is going to be over on the West Orange trails. It's just encouraging people to get out and use the trails and see the facilities that we have. It's going to be at 126 West Petrus Avenue in Oakland. I believe it starts around 7:30 in the morning, but I'm happy to get some more information to you. Yes, sir. You're welcome. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
Got a quick one on the certified bike helmet fitter. I had no idea this was a thing. Can you review the dates and time again and how people can get more info?
Absolutely. So if you reach out to District 5 or myself, I'm happy to provide the information. Our safety office is going to be having the fitting. It's going to start at, the training at 9:30 in the morning on Friday, February 16th. It is free. We do ask that you pre-register. And you can do that through our safety office's website. But it's going to be, I think, 9:30 to 12:30, and it is a free training. Yeah, it's like an hour and a half.
Hour long.
It's like an
Helmet
hour
wrap.
and a half to 2 hours, I think, is what they're budgeting, but
Okay.
yes. So
Okay.
yeah, they can go in and learn how to fit the helmets appropriately so that they can help community members.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll pass on some more information. I'll get that to you.
Great. Anyone else? For the record, will you show that Mr. Presley from Eatonville is in attendance? Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, next up we have from Lynx, Ms. Whitten, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. My updates this month are fairly brief. Our ridership, we had our highest ridership day on February 2nd since 2020, and that was 62,825. So we are seeing an increase in ridership. We're trending around 8% higher this time than this time last year right now. We did complete our National Transit Database reporting to the Federal Transit Administration. That's our annually required report to submit all of our operating and financial statistics and data. And next week, we'll be holding a series of workshops, one in Kissimmee, one in Sanford, and at Link Central Station for public comment on our quarterly service changes, which will occur in April. And that concludes my updates.
Do we have any questions? No? All right, thank you so much. Next up, we have from the Florida Turnpike, Mr. Fine, welcome.
Good morning, committee members. One quick update. So in partnership with Safe Mobility for Life, the St. Cloud Police Department and the City of St. Cloud, Florida's Turnpike Enterprise co-hosted a car fit event at the St. Cloud Community Center yesterday. And it went from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There were a total of 15 certified car fit coordinators and technicians on hand to help participating drivers find their best fit for their vehicles. There was a total of 10 vehicles that were fitted yesterday, and an estimated age range for participants varied from 65 on up. Car fit checks took around 20 minutes each to complete. So a checklist was utilized by our technicians to determine the proper vehicle fits. And a copy of that checklist was provided to the drivers along with additional resources that were meant to enhance the awareness of safety and mobility within the community. I'd like to personally thank all the vendors and agencies that were able to attend yesterday and provided giveaways to our participants. But with that being said, that is the end of my report.
All right, do we have any questions? No? All right, thanks so much. All right, we'll go to our action items. Our first thing is the approval of the December 7th, 2023 meeting minutes in tab 1. And do we have any changes or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve this presented.
Do we have a second? If we have a first by Mayor Henson and a second by Mayor McCann, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, please show those adopted. All right, next up, we have FDOT Safety Performance Measure Targets, tab 2, and Mr. Trauger, please step to the podium, and for the record, please show Mayor Fouracre in attendance. Thank you.
Good morning again, everyone. This is this action that we're asking for today is an annual step, an annual action that Metro Plan Orlando Advisory Committees in our board has taken since 2018. I'll talk about that a little bit more today. Federal law, and this started in the MAP 21 and the FAST Act. These are federal reauthorization bills that drive federal transportation policy and funding, require MPOs and states to develop performance targets under what we refer to as a performance-based planning process. The action that we're asking for today is specific to the federal safety targets, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But as I mentioned before, the Metro Plan Orlando Board has supported FDOT's statewide targets since the inception in 2018. There are 6 federal safety transportation performance measures. The number and rate of fatalities, the number and rate of serious injuries, the number of non-motorized fatalities, so those are cyclists and pedestrians, and the same thing, the number of non-motorized serious injuries. So that last one focuses exclusively on our most vulnerable transportation users, but 6 total performance measures. This slide looks at the state of the system. Since 2018, our target the DOT target has been 0. We've supported that target, as you can see on this slide here, specific to fatalities. And as Mike and others have presented to you in presentations past, we're trending in the wrong direction as it relates to fatalities. We've seen some improvements as it relates to serious injuries, and reductions as it relates to the non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. But as it relates specifically to fatalities, again, we're trending in the wrong direction, especially as we're seeing reductions statewide. Our metropolitan areas still plateaued the last year, but current year data is not looking supportive of that trending downward. So with that being said, we are asking for your approval today of 0 for all of our federally required performance measures as presented in tab 2 of your agenda. I apologize for not mentioning this sooner. You'll find some information about from FDOT, some fact sheets about the performance measure, what it's applicable to, and also our board support resolution 2402, which is also in your packet, which is our support for the FDOT safety performance measures and our pledge to work collectively with the state to achieve those targets. With that, we are asking for your approval today.
Any questions? No? Do we have a motion to approve the FDOT safety performance measure targets?
I'll make the motion to approve support FDOT safety performance measure targets.
Second.
Did you get those, Lisa? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, please show that adopted. And we will now move to amendment, MTP amendment, I-4 moving Florida forward, tab 3 in your agenda packet. And we have Miss Chacon. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Catalina Chacon with the Florida Department of Transportation, here to give you an update on what we've been doing with the Moving Florida Forward, specifically the I-4 area in Central Florida. And then we do have a LRTP amendment that we're here to present as well. So our agenda today, we do have a new team, and 2 members of our team are here with myself and Tracy here today. So we'll tell you about the team, why it was formed, and all of that. Project overview, the projects that we're overseeing, the status of those projects, what we've been doing in terms of industry and stakeholder outreach, our procurement plan, and then our construction and engineering and inspection contract. And then we can take some questions. So here's our team. Our team is the Corridors Program Office, and we are an office that was established maybe 6 or 8 months ago. We report directly to central office in Tallahassee. And the reason why this office was formed is to make sure that there is a single point of contact or office to deliver and manage the projects that I'm going to show you on the next screen. So our program director is Keith Slater. He was the director of operations in District 1 out of Bartow. We have an administrative assistant, Cheryl Willets. We want to advertise and hire a communications program manager. In essence, is a PIO person, and we want this person to be obviously PIO, so with stakeholders, with citizens, also connection or communication with, once we have our contractor on board and we start construction, that person will be the point of contact to make sure we have updates in terms of construction and whatnot. And also this person is going to be a liaison with our MPOs, municipalities and whatnot. So hopefully we'll have this person on board soon, and we'll be coming back to provide updates. So you'll see this person hopefully soon, next time we come in to do an update. As I mentioned, we have Tracy Hood here with me today. He is our project controls program manager. In essence, we call him the kitchen sink. It's basically because you have myself, I am doing the pre-construction activities, so your design in essence. And then we have Katie Sherrard, who is in charge of construction. So that's why we say Tracy is in charge of everything else that Katie and myself are not in charge of. Tracy comes from to us from District 7 in Tampa. He was leading the project management office over there. Katie Sherrard comes to us from Bartow in District 1. She has a very wide background in design and construction, specifically on interstate projects, but she also served last year during hurricane repairs with the Sanibel Causeway. So a lot of experience. And Tracy's been doing this since he was 3 years old, and he's only 40 years old. So he's been doing this for 40 years, 43 years old. We also have Carrie Nelson. So as you can see, there's only 4 of us. Carrie Nelson is a borrowed employee from District 1. We're taking all the help that we can while we're still forming our team. We do want to add additional 10 to 15 additional FDOT employees. We're going through current legislative session right now, requesting those positions. That's what we have to do. So hopefully our team is going to be growing. We do have support from our consultant industry with an owner's rep team. So as I mentioned, these are the projects that we are managing and overseeing. There were 20 projects that were announced in the Moving Florida Forward initiative, but only these 3 projects are currently assigned to our office. So we're doing project 12 from the Moving Florida Forward, and that is the I-4 reconstruction in Osceola County. So we're going from the county line to the county line in Orange County. Project 13 is a Point Siena Parkway Extension Connector. So that is a project that in terms of FDOT jurisdiction, it falls under the Turnpike's jurisdiction. That's why this office was formed, because we are managing Turnpike's projects. Project number 12 falls under the District 5 jurisdiction, and then project 16 on the screen falls under District 1 jurisdiction. And project 16 is reconstruction of I-4 from west of 27 to the Polk County, Osceola County line. This is just an overall map of our project limits. And if you notice, there's 3 letters here, PDB2, PDB1. So what we've been doing since the initiative and the budget was allocated, how are we going to procure the construction contracts? We want to make sure we have to be successful. We need these projects really bad. So we want to make sure we have participation and competition when it comes to the construction contracts. So one thought was to do 2 projects, but we've been having a lot of outreach to contractors industry, making sure that they're going to participate on this project. So we're pivoting with that, and I have a slide later on that shows you what we're doing. And PDB, phase design build, that's all it means. It is a new type of procurement that it allows us a lot of flexibilities in terms of not having to have everything ready to proceed to our construction phase. So we're definitely going to take advantage of this new procurement method. In terms of project scope, I don't know if anybody has been here before. I've been here in the past giving presentations, but we're building what we said we're gonna build. So in Osceola County, the typical section or what it's gonna look like once it's built is 2 express lanes in each direction, a rail envelope in the median. We are actually working with Brightline to see if there's any opportunities for cost sharing opportunities in terms of we are funded, DOT is moving forward with this project. I think Brightline is, aggressively trying to find funds to connect all the way to Tampa. So if there's any opportunities that our contractor can build part of the infrastructure to minimize disruption and throw away in the future, we're exploring those options with Brightline. In Orange County, what we propose to do in Orange County is we have to connect the express lanes that we're building right now in Orange, that we will be building in Osceola County to I-4 Ultimate around the Kirkland area. Otherwise, you won't see the realization in congestion relief. We have to connect those express lanes. So we're proposing in Orange County to connect an eastbound direction, single express lane. We are actually currently building a westbound single express lane as we speak if you see any construction of Sand Lake, Darrell Carter, and the State Road 535 interchange, with those interchange improvements, we're also adding a single westbound express lane in the median of I-4. In terms of project status, we have our NEPA, we have our NEPA document in place. It was done we have several NEPA documents, but we have them in place. We will be doing a NEPA reevaluation for changes in typical section. Is pretty standard. Our funding in Osceola County, we have all of the funding in place except for the Poinciana Parkway Extension Connector. But in current legislative session right now, we're asking for the remainder of that money, and that it is for the construction phase. So we do have money for design phase. We are doing LRTP amendment, and that's what we're here today. We'll follow by tip amendments. And in terms of right-of-way, we are acquiring the right-of-way as we speak in Osceola and Polk County. And Polk County is basically the same situation as Osceola County. We have our NEPA in place. We'll be doing a reevaluation. Funding, we're working with Polk County as they want to build an overpass over I-4. So we're working with them in terms of funding. So this just shows you all of the activities that we're doing concurrently as we speak. We're trying to do as many things concurrently as we can to get ready to start building this project. So working on our NEPA, traffic documentation, coordination meetings with FHWA are done in a monthly basis, making sure that we have all of our documents that they need in order to go to the next phase, which is construction. Working on industry outreach, we're planning an industry forum in March of this year, and working on our finances with central office as well as current legislative session to make sure we have all the funds in place. So as I mentioned, industry and stakeholder outreach. So we've been meeting with it says 30 plus, but we put this PowerPoint together about, 3-4 weeks ago. So we've been having those conversations with industry. We've been talking to contractors, vendors, and consultants that are interested in this project. We want to make sure that what we're proposing is they're going to be going after this project. So we've been doing that. Also having coordination meetings with Osceola County, FHWA, Metro Plan Orlando, FTBA, and whatnot. So based on this coordination meeting, some of our lessons learned from other projects in FDOT, we were initially going to go with 2-phase design build contracts, the PDB that I showed earlier on. And now we're going to pivot, and we're going to still use that procurement method, phase design build contract, but we're going to break up the projects. And it's just in terms of construction, but at the end of the day, we're still building the whole system. But we're going to do multiple contracts for participation and competition. So the project sizes are going to range between 200 and 650 million. And we're preparing this, and then we're going to go out to industry March to do our industry forum, let them know our plan, and then we'll proceed with our advertisement for our construction contracts. We are also concurrently working on our construction engineering and inspection. So basically the inspectors that are going to be overseeing the construction activities. CEI, that's what it's called, Construction Engineering and Inspection. And that is actually ongoing. We plan to advertise that contract in, I believe is March 1st. And the thought for that one is just to have one CEI firm to oversee the entire project limits. That will streamline a lot of things and make sure that things are being done the right way and consistent. And that's all I have today. I'll take any questions if you have any.
Any questions? Right.
Look forward to it.
Yes, sir. I know.
Anybody that's driven that area
It's a mess.
knows
Yes.
how much fun that is.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, do we have a motion to recommend amending the 2045 MTP to include projects related to moving Florida forward? We have Mayor Foraker, a second. Mayor Sladak, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, please show adopted. And next up, we have F. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped ahead. Wait, come back up. Oh my gosh, sorry about that. Yeah. All right, we have Mr. Sartorio.
Good morning, Chairman and committee members. My name is Jason Sartorio, and this morning I have two tip amendments for you. Additional information regarding these amendments is located in tab 4 of your agendas. The two amendments come as a result of the Moving Florida Forward initiative, which FDOT just presented on. The two amendments advance design right-of-way and design build funding into current year to achieve consistency with the FDOT 5-year work program. And as I mentioned earlier, you have some additional information regarding these amendments located in tab 4 of your agendas. With that being said, unless there are any questions, we are asking for your recommendation of approval. Thank you.
All right, so it's my turn now. Are there any questions for Mr. Sartorio? Do we have a motion to recommend amending the fiscal year 24-28 TIP?
Second.
First by Mayor Foraker, second by Mayor Henson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing
Aye.
none, please show that adopted. Okay. Moving right along. We have Mr. Trauger with Urban Area Boundary tab 5 in your agenda. Welcome.
Just
Well, there's more than one way to get this going, right?
No, we're all for it. So this is a follow-up presentation, and today we are requesting action. Last month or during your last cycle, we talked more about method, approach, our coordination with our local agency partners. Today we are asking for your feedback. Within your agendas, I believe it's tab 4, I apologize, tab 5, pardon me. You'll see a detailed memo if you haven't already had a chance to read it, which speaks to the approach, the agency coordination process, and then also the feedback and final adjustments we made based on that coordination, direct coordination with our partners. This is the process we used. We are at step 5, so we're in tab 5, and today we're at step 5 of this process. But this does happen every 10 years. So it only happens every 10 years when we revisit the adjusting the urban area boundary. As I presented last month, but I'll go over it again today. Preliminarily, this U.S. Census Bureau identifies the urban area boundary based on a nationwide formula and thresholds that they set with using findings from the 2020 census. That standardized nationwide formula obviously doesn't fit. Kind of a cookie cutter approach, doesn't fit for everyone's needs. So federal law allows FDOT and metropolitan planning organizations to work collectively with local agencies to adjust that urban boundary to make sure that it's consistent with your local plans while also satisfying federal requirements. So over the past 3 months, we've been working directly with our local partners to massage that boundary, really adjust it outward to account for the growth that we're expecting over the next 10 years. So again, we are at step 5 of this process. I think what's important to note, especially to our land planning partners and you as elected officials who have full control over land use within your jurisdictions, is this doesn't supersede your powers. I'm going to start kind of first and foremost with that third bullet there. You still maintain full land planning authority. Just because an urban area boundary has been adjusted outward, it doesn't usurp any of your comprehensive plan policy. So that's really important to note. They are separate designations. But what it's really for is federal transportation funding as well as emergency management funds. So there's urban area funds and there's rural funds. If you're within the urban area boundary, those urban funds are available to you. If you're outside that boundary, obviously the rural. As we adjusted the boundary outward, we did include additional populations, but that doesn't affect our actual formula-based funds. So just because we added, another 10, 15,000 people into the urbanized area, we didn't get the reciprocating dollar. So this is not a process to manipulate funding formulas. It's more to represent urban growth as we see it moving forward. So with that, we are requesting your approval today of the adjusted urban area boundary.
Any questions? No, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll second.
Mayor Sladak, and I think we had someone on the right. Who was second?
Second.
Commissioner Ramos. All right, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Adopted.
Gotta have this side do a little bit more.
All right, I know. Okay, we have, let's see, we have 4 informational presentations today. And first up we have is Mr. Trauger's back. Always great to have you.
Great to be back. So the first action item is something that we took up every year. The last one we talked about is every 10 years. This action item, or excuse me, this is not an action item, this is a presentation to be action at your next meeting. Yeah, sorry about that. This will be action at your next meeting, but this is a process that we undertake every other year. So every even year, we come and adjust or update our Unified Planning Work Program. That is federal code for Metro Plan Orlando's operating or working budget. So we develop a 2-year working budget consistent with state law. And then like I said, every even year we come back and totally update the budget. But on that second year, which we did last year, we do a budget amendment to rectify. What this is as I mentioned before, an internal operating budget. Our TIP is the capital improvement program. This is actually more of the internal facing plans, studies, staffing. It's a federal requirement for us to expend the federal transportation funds that we receive, and for links similarly. And as that second bullet notes, it's really a description of our work, which is focused on products, deliverables, and that's what you'll see next cycle when we actually have a tangible budget document in front of you. I'm just going to cover some of the structure, let you know that's pretty much the same as in years past. Not a lot of change in framework or also in funding. But I'll talk about that more in a second. Schedule, like I said, every even year we go through this process working with our local partners in FDOT. First key date for us is March 13th. At our March 8th board meeting, we'll be bringing this as an action item, and we have to formally submit it for FDOT for their review by March 13th. That provides some time, or excuse me, March 15th rather. DOT gets a month with the document, reviews it based on a checklist that they have. They provide us feedback, comments. We make final adjustments based on any of that feedback received. And then our board again takes final approval of that document at their May 8th meeting. I apologize on those, mixing those dates up. As I mentioned just a moment ago, the organization or structure of the document has not changed over the past really 4 years. These are the core tasks, administration, pretty straightforward. We have a robust public outreach program, as you're pretty familiar with. The Transportation Improvement Program, required task, as well as the Metropolitan Planning. Regional activities, TISMO is focuses on Eric Hill and Laura's work that you hear a lot about. Data development, another core task for us. And special studies is when we're doing those works that we're helping our local government partners develop different plans and projects. Multimodal systems planning is really a catch-all. That's kind of, if it's not one of the other tasks above, it really falls into our multimodal systems planning task. And we also have links planning activities included in our UPWP as we are passing federal funds through to links as part of the consolidated planning grant that we operate. As I mentioned before, Staffing really isn't changing much. The structure of the organization isn't changing much. The funding that we're receiving federally, federal and local funds that we're receiving, really not changing too much. But these are the projects that we're going to be working on over the next 2 years. We're going to be completing the Transportation Systems Management and Operations Regional Strategic Plan. That's some work that Eric Hill is leading, which looks at our region, but also our partner agencies, the counties surrounding the 3-county area. So it's a deeper, more super regional focus. We're also going to be wrapping up our electric vehicle charging readiness study. That's some work that just kicked off, I believe, last month. You're going to be hearing more about that over the next couple meetings. You've heard a lot about, I'm sure here and locally, our Vision Zero action planning as part of our Safe Streets and Roads for All federal grant. So that work is going to continue really through August of 25, consistent with our grant agreement with Federal Highway. But some new works that you started to hear about last month, you're going to start hearing a lot more about our 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. This is the update of our region's long-range plan. That's really kicking off. You're going to hear more from Taylor here in a few minutes on that. Something else you may be familiar with is something else you're probably familiar with is our annual traffic signal retiming program. So we work with our local agencies and FDOT to retime select corridors within the region. We work with the local traffic engineers to identify those corridors, retime. And we also conduct before and after studies. We want to make sure we have a return on investment. So we conduct a benefit cost analysis and other post analyses to see how that retiming impacts the system, making sure that we're doing the right things. We're also going to be conducting sidewalk feasibility studies. Our long-range plan identifies critical sidewalk gaps. And to get those funded in the work program, you have to do a little planning work before it can go into design. So my team is going to be leading those efforts, working directly with our local partners to do that pre-design feasibility screening. We're also going to be kicking off some corridor studies like we have done in the past, similar to our Corinne Drive, a 10th Street study, as well as more recently our Rock Springs Road and West Orange Trail planning corridor study. So we're going to be continuing that work moving forward. We're also going to continue our data acquisition program, which collects travel time and reliability data, and that supports our local government partners, looking at different cut-through traffic, speed, travel time and delay, looking at origin and destination patterns. I know we've worked with a lot of the agencies here, as well as our county partners, utilizing that data set. Something else that's going to be kicking off next fiscal year is our what we call our travel demand management plan. So this is looking at making the most of the existing system and identifying opportunities, whether that's cultural or educational, to shift travel demand. DOT, you've probably heard a lot about FDOT's Rethink Your Commute. It's a commuter services program. That plan would look to broaden that and to develop a regional strategy to improve that. And something else that's going to be kicking off soon in this fiscal year, you're going to be hearing more about our biannual public opinion survey. But in this particular budget in fiscal 26, we're going to be doing the update of that survey. So that's a public opinion research on transportation topics. So again, these are the proposed studies, planning activities that we're going to be working on with the funding that we have available to us. Speaking funding in particular, you'll see this current year, left column there, fiscal 23-24. That's our current year budget. Currently operating about $15.5 million. When you look at fiscal 25 and fiscal 26, those are more regular funding years for us. About $8 to $9 million is pretty typical based on the federal funding formulas. That is the primary funding source for us. The reason that there is really a larger figure in current year is really that federal grant. We received almost $5 million in matching with local funds. So that's where you're seeing an increase in current year. But as we go into the next 2 years, we're going to be really going back to more typical revenue flow. As I mentioned before, we also pass funds through to Links, both for planning studies. So we pass about $350,000 over to Links so they can conduct strategic plans for the development of transit service. We also pass funds through transportation disadvantage funds, which helps them administer the Access Links program. but we also pass through a portion, and this is consistent with our board's policy, a portion of our federal transportation capital funds. They're called SU funds. They're urban attributable transportation funds, and we pass through $7 million a year to Lynx to support their transit asset management program. So they're using those funds for changing out rolling stock, buying new buses, but also their shelter program. So really any eligible capital expense those funds can be used for by Lynx. So again, as part of our document, it's Metro Plan Orlando, but it's also identifying those pass-through funds that go directly to Lynx to support their planning program, but also their transit asset management program. So again, next month, we will be coming back asking for action. And with that, we will actually have a tangible document for your review in advance of that meeting. But today was really just to familiarize y'all with the process moving forward and to answer any questions y'all may have. So thank you so much.
Any questions? All right. Let's skip Miss Laurent. No, I'm just kidding. Come on up. Welcome.
Okay, good morning. So I'm Taylor Laurent, and I'm excited to be able to kick off the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan with you today. And just to get started, the MTP serves as the foundation of how all of our projects here in the region receive federal funding. The MTP serves as a long-term vision of our transportation within our region and identifies the transportation needs and prioritizes project solutions to meet those needs. From there, the top priority projects are then shortlisted onto our prioritized project list. And then ultimately, as funding becomes available and projects are ready to move forward, they're then programmed into the Transportation Improvement Program. As you can see, everything flows from the MTP long range to our short-term budget documents in the TIP. So that's really the key to becoming eligible for federal funding moving forward. As we kick off our 2050 MTP, we do recognize that there are several federal requirements that we're going to be meeting. Some of the key ones are here up on the slide now, that this needs to be a minimum of a 20-year planning horizon document, updated every 5 years, which is why we're getting started now. It must be fiscally constrained and include data-driven information inside of our decision-making processes. The MTP is also multimodal and multifaceted by design. So you can see all of the different planning emphasis areas that are included within the development of the plan. These different areas ultimately shape the future of our transportation system. We want to make sure that we're including any future trends or developments in our long-term vision. The tasks and activities of the MTP begins with the development of goals and objectives for us as we move forward. An evaluation of how we utilize the existing system today and any future trends, like we just mentioned on the prior slide, for inclusion in our evaluations about how the region will continue to grow. The latter half of the plan is where we complete a needs assessment and then develop a cost feasible plan of projects and strategies that will ultimately be adopted by the board at the completion of this process. So this is the first of many information items you're going to receive about the MTP over the next 2 years as we develop the plan. And there will be several different opportunities for engagement and feedback throughout this process. The first being these committee and board meeting updates like you're getting today. And I'll talk more about what's in your agenda packet in a moment. Then we also have MTP technical workshops where we can deep dive any of the topics that we might not have enough time for in our regular advisory committee meetings. So we could spend 30+ minutes if we need to on any of these relevant topics. The first of those workshops with our technical advisory committee, TISMO members, and other transportation operating partners is actually this afternoon. So if you're curious to hear how that goes, definitely reach out to your staff. We will also be having interdisciplinary interviews for our kind of non-traditional transportation partners, so we can incorporate health feedback, environmental feedback, those other topics, and have one-on-one meaningful conversations and include their information and insights in the development of the 2050 MTP. And we will also have several public engagement events, as you can imagine. And as those become scheduled, we will let you know about those in your status reports that are in your agenda packets. So speaking of, this should be one of the items that's in front of you. It should say 2050 MTP status update for January 2024. You'll be receiving this as an information item in all of your agenda packets moving forward, whether or not you'll see me here at the podium. And this will include a list of the different activities that are ongoing with the MTP at any given time. So the work underway, a reminder of the project schedule and kind of where we are, and then any upcoming events if they're scheduled. So you have all the same information that we do. So we are right at the beginning of the development of the MTP. So we're starting off with the kickoff meetings now, getting ready to begin with the goals and objectives pretty soon, and ultimately having this plan completed by December of 2025 for its adoption at the board meeting at that time. So as we kind of dive into all of the technical components of this plan, I ask that we reflect on these kind of 4 questions. How do we want to continue growing as a region? What do we want our transportation system to look like as we move forward? How will we fund that shared regional vision? And what steps must be taken to achieve that vision? So the answers to these 4 questions are going to shape the outcomes of our 2050 MTP. So thank you for your time this morning, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Do we have any questions? Looks like you did a thorough job.
Thank
you
you.
very much. All right, let's see, where are we on? Which are we on? C? Yes, we now have Ms. Rodriguez is welcome. Vision Zero.
Is it on? No? Okay. Good morning, committee members. I'll be providing an update on our progress with the Vision Zero plan. As part of our efforts, we have developed a quick guide to help local governments select the most appropriate countermeasures for their high injury corridors and intersections. This countermeasure toolbox presents nearly 120 countermeasures. 120 countermeasures, and these are organized in the categories that are listed in this slide. These countermeasures aim to change infrastructure features to remove hazards, to manage speeds, to separate users in space and time, to increase visibility, and other engineering strategies. However, the selection of the countermeasures adequate for specific locations will always be subject to professional judgment and context-sensitive design. For the development of this countermeasure toolbox, we use various sources, including the FHWA Crash Modification Factor Clearinghouse, various reports from the TRB National Research Programs, and the Pedestrian and Bicycle Information Center. The applicable facilities are categorized based on context classification into urban streets, suburban streets, and rural roadways. Cost information included in the countermeasure toolbox provides an overall order of magnitude to help compare potential strategies. However, most of these countermeasures will likely be incorporated into larger intersection or corridor programs, which will provide significant savings. The typical timeline to implement a specific countermeasure is also identified. However, timelines can vary based on whether the countermeasure can be implemented using quick build materials or permanent materials. This slide shows an example on how the countermeasures are presented in the toolbox. As mentioned, it includes the expected crash reduction or efficacy. It also presents the typical placement, estimated cost, safety system strategies and other considerations for the selection of the countermeasures based on the trends that we are seeing as part of the Vision Zero crash analysis. We're currently working on developing a non-infrastructure countermeasure toolbox. This guide will include countermeasures that are aimed to influence behavior. The guide will provide strategies that can be implemented at a scale to influence large segments by using marketing campaigns or high visibility enforcement, but they can also be focused on specific roadway types, roadway user types, such as teen drivers or motorcyclists. Public engagement is a key element of our Vision Zero efforts. We have conducted various public events, including workshops and pop-up events. A total of 5 events took place during November and December of 2023 with over 300 participants. In the month of January, we conducted 5 public events, and other 5 events have taken place during the month of February. A media briefing took place on December 13 with participation from board members, FDOT personnel, and MetroPlan Orlando staff. This event was very successful with participation of journalists from 5 English and 1 Spanish media outlet. We got over 25 minutes of on-air coverage immediately after the event. And this event led to receiving additional inquiries from other media outlets. As part of our public engagement efforts, we have also developed a survey that's available on our Vision Zero Hub site. We have received 128 contributions directly from the Vision Zero efforts, and 160 safety-related comments that were carried over from the active transportation plan. We want to note that most of the contributions that we have received are related to Orange County safety issues. So we're currently working with the Osceola and Seminole County Vision Zero teams to identify strategies to better promote this survey tool within those communities. We have also developed a Vision Zero Kids book that with the intent to facilitate interactions and educate school-age kids at public events. This kids book is also available on our Hub site, and we are working with our teams to employ these during future outreach events as well. Actually, as part of the next steps, we have this slide, but this took place already in January 31st. The MetroPlan Orlando staff participated in this FDOT District 5 Safety Strategic Plan workshop. The workshop consisted of 3 different sessions, and the afternoon session, the morning session was included interactions with law enforcement, and the afternoon session provided opportunity for TAC members, board members, TISMO members, and the Vision Zero Task Force to interact through focused discussions regarding successes, challenges, and actions in addressing transportation safety as a region. It was a very well-attended event. The afternoon session had 105 participants in total. For next steps, we are presenting here our project schedule. We are currently working in the identification and prioritization of projects and strategies, also completing policy reviews, and our action plan will be wrapped up by spring 2024. It's scheduled to be completed in May of 2024. And with that, I conclude my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have.
Are there any questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Rod. Oh, please.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Just wanted to know an update. What's the death toll in Central Florida on the accidents? I know that Vision Zero is to come to 0 deaths. What is it right now? Does anybody have that information?
I don't have it on the top of my head. I can get back with you. Yes.
This is going to be a great plug for our Vision Zero hub. I know we
Yeah.
talked about it, presented it at a last one. Here we go.
Yes, okay. Yeah, so we have a total of over 7,000 fatal and serious injuries in a region. What is specifically to bikes is about 329, with pedestrians being over 1,000 and about 950 motorcyclists that are included in our data. That's in a region.
That's a region for the 5
Yes.
years, 2018 to
Yes.
2022.
Yes.
As I mentioned before, we do have we do have a hub site. I just want to call to your attention. It's visionzerocfl.gov. If you go to that site, there's actually it's a great resource. But one of the applications that's on that site is actually a data dashboard. So you can pull up the crash data, sort, pivot by different factors, whether it's, you want to look at pedestrian fatalities, total fatalities, you name it. You can also pivot and sort by your jurisdiction. So you can look specifically in Oakland, Edgewood, you name it. You can identify different sub areas, and it will query dynamically all of those statistics for you.
You can also is visionzerocfl.gov. And you can also filter by year. In 2022, the total fatal and serious injury crashes were about 1,600, with bicycles being 80, pedestrians 194, and 215 motorcyclists. That's 2022.
If I'm not mistaken, doesn't MetroPlan's website also show particular, and you can zoom in and out on like a map, and it shows you
Yeah.
accidents per intersection. You can zoom right in on your community, and it's very, very detailed and interactive. It's
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes, there is a map where you can zoom in and see the locations where these crashes are happening. Again, you can filter by jurisdiction, by county, by year. You can also filter those that are including private roadways and parking lots, because we screen those to have a better understanding of the specific roadways and intersections where we need to focus. But as part of this hub site, you can also take a look. We have a tab that's called Crash Trends and Analytics that includes a story map that provides more insights on the analysis that we have completed of the crash analysis. So it provides a lot of good information and details that will help you understand what are the trends that we are finding. It includes the dashboard where you can, again, filter the specific data, zooming into the map, filter by county, by different factors. You will be able to see the high injury network. So this is the result of that crash analysis that identifies those corridor segments and intersections with high incidence of fatalities and serious injuries. So we have those highlighted in the high injury network, and you can zoom in there. You can scroll over the location and get some specific data about that specific intersection or corridor segment. And you can also find The survey that I was mentioning, we have received about 198 surveys that have been completed. You can see the survey there. It includes a map where you can add comments about specific locations within a region. It is available in English, Spanish, and Creole. So we have that ability to translate the survey to facilitate interaction with our communities. And lastly, we have another tab that's called Vision Zero Resources, where you can see the calendar of all the outreach events that are coming up. You can find various sources that includes reference documents, include what we call our elected officials guide that we are going to be soon distributing to all of you, that has a good overall overview of the Vision Zero efforts and some additional resources where if you need to interact with your constituents or just the community, and other resources. So it's a very, very complete hub site. We invite you to go there. And if you have any questions, we are happy to help you navigate the hub site.
And we'll be sure Sarah will send that link out to you guys to make sure you kind of have it at the top of your inboxes later today.
Okay.
How
Thank
quickly is the information updated?
Well, the information, the crash data, we includes the crash data that we use for our analysis. So it's the past 5 years, 2018 to 2022. We have, as part of our Vision Zero efforts, we have a strategy to update these data as part of our efforts to see how we are making progress once we have these plans in action. So currently the data is gonna be what we use for our analysis, what we use for the identification of the high injury network, but we will be updating that as we complete the plans, and because we are tasked with monitoring our progress to achieving the Vision Zero goal.
Well, I guess my point would be if it's not updated monthly, we could be falling behind, and because as things change, construction could be a factor in accidents. So I mean, that's where I'm getting at. How quickly are we getting the information?
To answer your question, Mayor, historically, we've updated that data annually, and that's typically the reporting pattern for all crash and fatality data. We use a database. It's a statewide database called Signal 4 Analytics. It's really the gold standard for crash data reporting. A crash record to show up, a long form crash record to show into that database doesn't come in until 90 days after the actual crash occurs or fatality occurs. So there's always that there's a 3-month latency there. So we are tracking the data, kind of Mike and team are tracking the data as it's coming in. We actually read all the crash reports to recode the bike and ped ones to make sure we have a really clear understanding about why it happened, where it happened, and kind of the countermeasure moving forward. But as it relates specifically to this public-facing site, it will be updated annually. And also to note, while the data doesn't come in after 90 days, that whole data set doesn't get validated until like October of the following year, because sometimes serious injuries become fatalities. Sometimes things that were not, that were just crash, non-injury become a serious injury after the fact. So the state is tracking that, and they're updating the data set based on that latest.
And if I may add, regarding construction projects that are currently programmed or under construction, we are working with our local partners to incorporate that information as part of the Vision Zero plan development. So we are going to be including that and considering that as we work through finishing and completing these action plans.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
We now have tracking the trends with Mr. Downs. Mr. Downs, welcome.
Morning, everyone. Kind of got a very smooth transition talking about safety trends with Vision Zero to our Tracking the Trends program. So again, I'm Slade Downs, and here to tell you a bit about that program. Tracking the Trends is our internal program that's designed to track historic data in transportation and identify trends within that data. Like other MPOs, we track federally mandated performance measures, but we go a bit further to include basically every quality of life statistic that touches transportation. So the Tracking the Trends website has been revamped to be more accessible to the public. It's been streamlined to show a profile of the metro area, as well as selected highlights in transportation trends. You can see the highlighted data as well as the interactive maps and other trends at metroplanorlando.gov/trends. And if you are interested in kind of a deeper dive past the highlights into the more granular historic data, we have a data clearinghouse site that's currently under construction that will make all of the historic data more accessible to the public as well as all of your staffs. So a couple other things from this program that are coming down the line. If our systems performance report, this houses those federally mandated performance measures that I just mentioned. It tracks metrics and features interactive maps to visualize how different performance measures vary around the region. It also includes kind of a contrast between the granular data as well as context to explain to the average Central Floridian how it could affect their lives. For example, here we've got the reliability data on the right in that table, as well as on the left, you have how reliability impacts your commute day to day. So lastly, we have our Accessibility Hub, which is coming soon. The Accessibility Hub will allow municipal partners and citizens alike to see how accessible their neighborhood, job, cities are within the context of the greater region. Accessibility maps are available to many points of interest displayed up there on the screen, as well as showing an overall accessibility score for any point within the region. Like, for example, you can see where there are, say, transit gaps or food deserts, or maybe where there's an abundance of access to grocery stores, that sort of thing. So that will help us in tracking the accessibility through our region. And with that, that is all I had. If you have any questions, be happy to take them. And just again, that website is metroplanorlando.gov/trends. Thanks.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Downs.
Thank you.
All right, we're coming to a close here. Some general information. There are several items under your tab 7 in your agenda packets. Commissioner Smith is going to, I'm out of town next week for Metro Plan, so as vice chair, he will fill in for me there. Next Metro Plan Orlando board meeting is here next week, which we just talked about, Wednesday, February 14th at 9 a.m. Our next MAC meeting is March 7th, 9:30 a.m. Do we have any member comments? All right.
I can't
Mayor
resist
Slater?
sharing. So this Vision Zero thing, it really is an empowering tool for constituents to bring new ideas into the forefront. And I noticed on the presentation that there was that the first thing listed as a mitigating thing was signals. And we had residents come out and protest signalizing, not protest exactly, but say, hey, why don't you reconsider doing a signal and do a roundabout instead? And one of our council members on the spot pulled up the Division Zero website and started looking at the stats and just trying to do a database analysis on the spot. So anyway, we have slowed the train down and are reconsidering because of that data. So make sure your constituents get it and your board members, because it makes you think about things a little bit differently.
Very good. Anyone else?
Yeah, actually, just to add to it, we're fortunate enough, and Mr. Rodriguez, I don't know if that's going to be you presenting, but I believe Vision Zero is coming to Winter Springs and speaking at our city commission meeting this coming Monday to do a presentation to both our residents and to the commission to help inform them of exactly that kind of outreach. I'm not sure, is that going to be you or somebody from your office coming to our city commission meeting Monday? Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, sorry. Okay. Could you, maybe I'll give you my business card after the meeting. If you could maybe have her reach out to me prior to our meeting on Monday, since she's going to be addressing the entire commission, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Any others? All right, now we're going to public comment. If any members in the public wish to comment, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll unmute the mic. Are there any who wish to speak?
Mr. Chair, there's no hands raised online.
Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Anyone in person? Any other public comments?
Have not received any requests.
And any submitted prior to written? Nope.
No, there have not.
All right, with that, we are adjourned. Have a great rest of your day.